Hello everyone, myself Sia, and I am a third year MBBS student studying in AIIMS Nagpur. And today I am here to discuss with you the previous year questions that have appeared in the chapter Transport in Plants. Every year in NEET, we have 1 to 2 questions from this chapter. So it is important that you go through the previous year questions and get a grip so that when this question comes, there is high chance that the questions might get repeated. So it is important that we see through the previous year questions. So let's start with the first question. The first question is asking the process responsible for facilitating the loss of water in liquid form from the tip of grass blades at night and early morning is. Okay. So in real life also, we see in early morning that the plants have water droplets on them. So, what is the cause that is leading to the formation of water droplets? So, let us understand. First, let's understand what is this process known as. The process of loss of water from tip of leaves is called guttation. This process of guttation is occurring because of root pressure. Now, what is this root pressure? Let us understand that. So, this is the soil, and here we have the roots. In soils, there is obviously higher concentration of minerals, but these, when they have to enter into the roots, they have to go against the gradient and therefore need ATP. Thus, there it is active transport. Now comes the question: since this the entry of minerals into the roots is against and it is active transport, so it creates a positive pressure. This is the positive pressure, which we call as root pressure. Now, but why only in the night or in early mornings we see this process of guttation? It should happen throughout the day. But what is the reason that is occurring only in night and early morning? Since at night and early morning, there is going to be less of sunlight and there is going to be low temperature. Therefore, there is decreased transpiration. So if there is decreased transpiration, there is going to be decrease of loss of water. Therefore, water is going to accumulate, and these accumulated water has to be removed from the plants. So that occurs due to guttation. Now, we can see in the option that the process is guttation, and the option A, that is the root pressure, is the reason why we see the loss of water from the leaflets. That was the explanation for first question. Let's move on to second question. The second question states that the active and passive transport across the cell membrane differ. Means the question is basically asking you that what is active transport and what is passive transport, the difference between them. So let us see what are active and what is passive transport, and then let's read the option and try to answer the question. Now, as the word active means that something has to be done actively. There is going to be need of extra effort. Why? But why do we need this extra effort? Extra effort is needed because we have to go against the concentration gradient. Just like you can imagine, the water pumps that have to pump the water from under the ground to the surface, they require electrical energy because they have to go from a source where there is less water to a source where we have to bring it out. So we need some extra energy, similar to the water pump in plants to perform active transport, where we have to go against the concentration gradient. We are going to need that extra effort, and this extra effort, which is nothing but ATP, that is energy. Okay. While the passive transport is along the gradient. What does this mean along? That means it will move from an area where there is high to an area where there is low. So this is naturally driven process. We do not have to spend any energy. So this is along the gradient, along the gradient. This you have to remember, this is against the gradient and this is along the gradient. Now comes the point that what are the factors that are going to affect the active transport, and that is what is asked in the question. Now, active transport occurs via proteins. And since proteins are involved, they are going to be highly selective in nature. They are going to get saturated. That means only limited amount of substrate or substances can be transported at a time. All right, just like a vehicle, only fixed number of things can be transported. Correct. So similarly, it is selective. It will get saturated, and it is sensitive to inhibitors. These are the three things given in your NCERT. So you should remember this, and the question can be asked upon this. Now let's read the option and try to answer the question. Option A says passive transport is non-selective. Option B, we have to find that active and passive transport differs in which. So we have seen that active transport is selective. And similarly, in passive transport, we have simple passive transport and we have facilitated. In facilitated, also proteins are used. So since here also protein are involved and here also protein are involved, so all this thing which I've told in active are actually same for facilitated. But in facilitated, it is important to remember that facilitated transport is a type of passive transport. Therefore, even though proteins are involved, it is along the gradient. All right, that's it. So the option A says the passive transport is non-selective. No, this is wrong, because in passive transport we have facilitated transport, which also utilizes proteins. So hence it will also be selective. It will also get saturated, and will also be sensitive to inhibitors. So first option can't be the answer. Let's move to option number B. Option B says passive transport is along the concentration gradient, while active transport is due to metabolic energy. That is actually true. We have seen that active transport is going to be against the gradient and the passive transport is going to be along the gradient. That is what option B is saying. So ultimately option B is the correct answer. So answer for this question is option B. Now let's move to question number 3. Question number 3 says, which of the following is not a feature of active transport of solutes in plants? Now, with the similar explanation, we can answer this question. It is a question of active transport. So active transport is against the gradient. So option A says it requires energy. Yes, absolutely. We have already studied that active transport is going to require energy in the form of ATP. So option A is correct. Option B says it occurs against the concentration gradient. Yes, we have seen that it occurs against the concentration gradient. So that is also correct. Option C says it is not selective. But we have seen that active transport is going to occur with the help of protein. So if protein is there, you have to remember the three S. What are the three S? Selective, saturated, and sensitive. So yes, active transport is selective. Hence, the option C is wrong. Always remember, guys, in such question when there is a keyword like not or which of the following is false, make sure that you read that question correctly, because most of the time the examiner will try to confuse you. So it's always better that you go through it and mark such words like not, false, or not. All right. So the correct answer is option number C, that is non-selective. Let's move to the question number 4. Question 4 is asking what will be the direction of flow of water when a plant cell is placed in a hypotonic solution. Okay, this is a very interesting concept of hypertonic and hypotonic solutions. Why? Because it tends to confuse you. So let me try to explain you what is the mechanism behind it. Now, we have two things. We have a hypotonic solution, hypotonic, and we have another thing as hypertonic. Hypertonic. Now, when we are saying hypo, we understand hypo means less and hyper means more. This is the common sense, right? But what is less and what is more? The thing which is less and which is more, we are talking is in with respect to solute. If you understand this, you understand the whole concept. Why? So, any solution has solute plus solvent. We know this concept. So, if the solute is high, solvent is going to be low, and vice versa. Correct? This is one concept you have to know. Know this one concept. And second concept you have to know that movement of water occurs from high water concentration to low water concentration. This is the second thing you have to know. This is the first thing, that is about the solute, and second is this. Now, based on these two concepts, we are going to solve this question. The question says that there is a plant cell. So let's just consider this as a beaker, and we have here water, and this is our plant cell. Okay, this is the plant cell, and this is the hypotonic solution as given in the question. All right. Now, since the solution is hypotonic, it is hypotonic. Hypotonic, from this first concept, you understand the concentration of solute is less. If the concentration of solute is less, it, from here we can say the concentration of solvent is more. Concentration of solvent is more. Solvent, what here we take as water. So what does this show? If the solution is hypotonic, so there is high water here than compared to inside the plant. So if there is high water here, it is obviously going to enter the plant cell. So here in placing it in hypotonic solution, in hypotonic solution, entry into cell, therefore cell swells. Now, based on this concept, let's try to answer our question. Option A says no flow of water in any direction, that is false. Option B, water will flow in both directions, again false. Option C, water will flow out of the cell, no. That would happen in hypertonic solution. But in the question, it is a hypotonic solution, and we have seen here that water will enter the cell. So option B is the correct answer. Now let's move to the question number 5. Question 5 says the movement of mineral iron in plant root as a result of diffusion. This is called as what? Now, the answer is C. What is that? Is osmosis. Now, let us try to understand that. It is very simple. The ions that will move inside the roots. Let me explain. So, this is the root, and there are ions. So, ions are entering by active transport. But some ions will move by diffusion and will carry water along with it. Correct? So, this movement, which will occur by diffusion, diffusion is a type of passive transport. And will not require energy. Okay. So, we can say the answer is passive transport. That is option number C. Now let's move to the question number 6. What does question number 6 says? That sorry, carbohydrates are commonly found as starch in the plant storage organ. Which of the following properties of starch make it useful as a storage material? Now see, in plants, the transport and storage. So transport in the form of sucrose and storage in the form of starch. Now, why starch is preferred? Starch is preferred because it will be non-reactive. Non-reactive can be still inert. It stays inert first. Second, it is osmotically inactive. It will not cause any osmotic gradient formation. It will not react. Then third, it is this is the two reasons by which the factors that will help starch to store. Now let's see the options. Option B and option D we know. So in option B and D are in option number B. So answer is clearly option B. But let's also see why other options are wrong. Option A is also a correct option, but since in the exam such combination of A, B, and D is not given, so we have to go by B and D. That is in option B of this question. So that is the answer. Let's move to question number 7. In question number 7, it is asked the translocation of organic solutes in sieve tube members is supported by. Okay. So the transport of organic solutes transport by phloem via the phloem sap. Now in NCRT, there is a clear line that says the phloem sap is rich in sucrose, amino acids, sucrose, amino acids, then some hormones. So ultimately, the solutes which is transported, the sucrose, is transported by a phloem. Now in phloem, we have sieve elements, and sieve elements are are required to be maintained. So how is the sieve element going to be maintained? So we have two things. The phloem protein is one, which is nothing but the P protein, and other is the P protein. Okay. So if there is any damage to phloem protein or the sieve elements, it is protected and supported by P protein. So option A is the correct answer. Yes. Let's move to question number 8. The bidirectional translocation of mineral takes place, excuse me, as we have seen in this question only, the transport of organic solutes, sucrose, amino acids, hormones, the minerals will take place through phloem. Now, but what is the direction? We have not talked about the direction of flow. We just saw that it occurs through phloem. But is it unidirectional? Is it bidirectional? We don't know that. So actually, in phloem, it is bi. That is both direction, and this is given by the bulk flow hypothesis. You only try to imagine that is it always necessary that the food is prepared in the leaves. Let's take an example, and it is stored in the storage organ, let storage part. Let's take an example for now, fruit. So we understand the point that if the food or the organic material is produced in the leaves, so it is going to go in the storage part. This is obvious. But is it true that at some point in the part of plants, the food that is stored will go to the leaves? Can this happen? So yes, it it is both from production to storage and also from store to the product produced in case of autumn season or when there is no food production. So if there is no food production, the plant is dependent on the stored material, and hence it has to be bidirectional. So according to the question, bidirectional translocation of mineral takes place in phloem, that is option number B. So let's move to our question number 9. What does question number 9 ask? Translocation of carbohydrate nutrient usually occurs in the form of. So we have already seen this concept with question number 6, that is the transport will be in the form of sucrose and the storage will be in the form of starch. So clearly option C is the correct answer. Sorry, option D is the correct answer. Transport is why sucrose. That is what is asked in our question. Now, why is sucrose chosen to be the transport form? This is again non-reactive even in high concentration, not become viscous. That is, even though it is transporting large amount of sucrose, it will not become viscous. If it becomes viscous, it would be difficult to pass. Let's take an example of honey. Honey becomes so thick, it is so viscous, so it can't flow through easily. But if we want the transport to happen, we need something that can flow easily. So it is a positive thing that sucrose provides that is, even though it is transported in large amount, it will not get viscous and can be easily transported. So our option for this question is option number D, sucrose. Now let's move to question number 10. Question number 10 is asking, the grass leaf curl inwards during very dry weather. What is the most appropriate reason for the following? All right. So many a times, what happens if there is dry weather and there is less water? Dry weather, there is decrease in water. So we obviously see that the leaf curl. Now, a special information is given in the question which you have to focus upon. Do not leave this fact that is easily given by the examiner. In the question, it is given grass. Examiner has given specific emphasis on the word grass, and you need to be smart enough to focus on that because grass is a monocot. And since we know in monocot leaves, we have a special cell, or we have a special cell. I'll draw example for you. So like this, we have, these are the individual cells. All right. So the thing which we see in the center, this large, empty, colorless, these cells are known as bulliform cells. Just as the term bull, these are large empty cells. This is just a thing you can remember, correlate and remember. The thing is, they are found only in monocots. Only in monocots. Hence, I was telling in the question that examiner is kind to give you easy hint for the question. So try to understand such hints from the examiner and focus on the term grass. Now, what happens when these bulliform cells have water? They become turgid. If they're turgid, they're going to open. And if the water is less, they are going to become flaccid, close. And if such cells become flaccid and close, obviously there is going to be curling of the leaves. All right. So option number B is the correct answer for this question. Now let's move to question number 11. Now stomatal movement is not affected by. Now what concept we are talking here is, it is transpiration. Transpiration is the process that occurs via stomata. So the factors affecting stomatal opening are going to affect transpiration, and the factors affecting transpiration are going to be related to the opening and closing of stomata. Now let's see the option A, B, C. In option A, there is given an option of temperature. Temperature. So it is obvious. Try to imagine if it's high temperature, it is going to be hot. If it is hot, there is going to be increased transpiration. Therefore, there is going to be increased opening of stomata. So it is kind of related. Similarly, in light, high light, there is going to be increased photosynthesis, increased photosynthesis, therefore opening of stomata. Third is CO2 concentration. Even the CO2 concentration will cause regulate the stomatal opening. Because if the CO2 concentration is high, there is going to be increased respiration and there is going to be opening. So option A, option B, and option C will affect the opening and closing of stomata, but oxygen concentration has minimal role. So the correct answer goes option D, oxygen concentration. Let's move to next question. That is question number 12. The stomata in grass leaves are. All right. Again, as I've told you earlier, examiner is trying to give you direct hint of grass. I have told you whenever you hear the term grass, one thing should come to your mind, that is, it is monocot. Now, what is the shape of stomata? For that, I have taken a diagram straight out of NCERT. Now, I have two diagrams of diagram A and diagram B. You can open your NCERT and go through it. So, in diagram A, this is dicot leaf, this is monocot. Now, in the question, it is given about grass. Grass is monocot, and you can clearly see this is dumbbell shape. So option A is the correct answer. Similarly, they can also ask you about the dicot. You can see the stomata is kidney shape. So here option A is the correct answer. Now let's move to question number 13. Question number 13 says, transpiration and root pressure cause water to rise in plants by. All right. Okay, let's see this. This is the plant stem, and this is the plant root. This is the root. This is the stem, and here we have a leaf. Correct? Correct. Now, the minerals are going to go inside. So this creates a positive pressure. And for transpiration to occur, water is going to move up and come like this and go out via transpiration. So it is causing negative pressure. Since it is, see, it is going to pull water. It is pulling. All right, let me just highlight. This is pulling. It is negative pressure, while in root it is positive pressure. It is, sorry, it is pushing. Correct. So remember, the transpiration is negative pressure, and if it is negative, it will cause pulling, and the root pressure is a positive pressure, which will cause pushing. So option number A is the correct answer. The transpiration will cause pulling because of the negative pressure, and root pressure will cause pushing because of the positive pressure. So option A is the correct answer. Let's move to question number 40, that is guard cells. Okay, what are these guard cells? So remember the diagram I have shown you just now? Let's see this diagram. This was a diagram of stomata. So we can see these are the stomatal pore, and surrounding that I have a kidney shaped cells. These kidney shaped cells are nothing but our guard cells. All right, so these guard cells will regulate the opening and closing of stomata. And stomata is going to open and close, and that is, it is related to transpiration. Hence, guard cells are also related to transpiration. Therefore, option A is the correct answer. Now we have question number 15. That is, photometer works on the principle of. So here I have a photo of photometer. You do not have to know the exact mechanism of how does the photometer work. Just know that photometer will help you. Means we use photometer to know about the transpiration. Now, how does this occur? It is based on the presence of this air bubble. You can see this air bubble. We should show you this air bubble. So, based on the movement of air bubble, we can see that some amount of water is being lost. Since if there is loss of water, air bubble will move ahead, and we know that transpiration has occurred. So, based on this, the distance move per unit time is equal to the rate of transpiration. Transpiration. All right, so let's see option A, B, C, D. So photometer works on the principle of osmotic pressure. No. Amount of water absorbed equal to the amount of water transpired. Yes. Root pressure. No. Difference in potential. No. Photometer works on the principle of amount of water absorbed. If there is more absorption, there is going to be air bubble pulled, it is going to move ahead, and that will ultimately give you the rate of transpiration. So option B is the correct answer. Let's see question number 16. That is, the opening of stomata is due to. Okay. So let us understand the concept here. This is an important concept, and it is a question which is given to confuse the students. So focus on this concept and let's just get it clear. All right. So then there is sunlight. We know there is going to be photosynthesis. All right. So if there is photosynthesis, there is going to be production of various organic solutes, various food is going to be produced. So we can just say there is starch produced, correct? Starch is produced, correct. Now what happens is this starch is converted into malic acid. What it is? Malic acid. You have to remember this malic acid. I am highlighting it for you, but you have to remember malic acid. Correct. Now this conversion occurs with the help of enzyme, PEPC. What is PEPC? Phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylase. All right. Yes, you have to remember this enzyme. So these are few extra edge topics, and if you focus on this, you'll get a edge over other competitors. Okay, so it's important that you just go through a little edge and take that extra effort. Right. So we have seen how starch is going to get converted into malic acid with the help of enzyme PEP carboxylase. Now, this malic acid will dissociate into H plus and malate. Malate and H plus. Now, what happens is the transport is going to take place. H plus is going to move out. Out means efflux. And instead, and in return, potassium is going to come inside. That is influx inside. Now, when there is increase of potassium inside the cell, the malate and potassium will combine to form potassium malate. There is formation of potassium malate. This potassium malate will go inside the guard cell. Guard cell means stomata. Correct? Then these guard cells, when they receive potassium malate, so there is increase in the osmotic gradient. Since the solute is entering inside the cell, then obviously the osmotic gradient is going to increase. Now, if there is increase in the osmotic gradient, water is going to follow. Water is going to follow. So there is increase in the turgidity. If there is increase in turgidity, it is going to open. Right? We saw how the influx of potassium and efflux of hydrogen is going to open the stomata. And simply option number B is the correct answer. Let's move to question number 17. All right. Question number 17 is asking the stomata open and close due to. Now, here only we have seen that opening or closing of stomata depends upon the, it is going to depend upon the turgidity, the osmotic gradient in the guard cell, correct? So option number D, that is the turgor pressure of the guard cell, is the correct answer. Let's move to question number 18. Which of the following plant is found to have minimum transpiration? All right. So ultimately, it is asking you what are the factors that regulate transpiration. So transpiration, as we know, it is the loss of water. So therefore, if there is less water, there's going to be less transpiration. So in the given options, we have option number A, that is nerium, is a xerophytic. What do you mean by xerophytic? Xerophytic means it is found in a desert condition, or it requires less water. Less water available. Correct? So if there is less water available, there is going to be less transpiration. Hence, option A is the correct answer. See, that's what is given. Nerium is a xerophytic plant, therefore has sunken stomata, and therefore is going to be less transpiration. That's it. Now, question number 19 is saying plants die from prolonged water logging because of. All right. So it's simple that if when we pour excess of water to our plants seen in our home also, if we put more water, after one day you see the plant dies. So why? Why? Why when we put water in excess, the root can't get air. They can't respire. So this will cause the plants to die. So option A is not the correct answer. Option B, it says root respiration stops. Yes, because of waterlogging, the respiration of roots will be stop and hence the plants will die. So option B is simply the correct answer. Now let's see question number 20. Which is produced during water stress and brings stomatal closure? All right. Now let's go back to the concept of opening and closing of stomata. Now, when there is water stress, there is less water available. So, less water available is going to increase ABA. Now, what is ABA? Is nothing but abscisic acid. Now, this abscisic acid is going to block this process of efflux and influx of potassium and sodium, potassium and hydrogen. So, there will not be able to open the stomata. Hence, option B is the correct answer. So let's see the next question. Question number 21. An adaptation for better gaseous exchange in the plant leaf is. Okay, the question is asking what are the factors that will help in better gaseous exchange. Let's see option number A. Hair on the lower surface. No, there is no such thing that if there is uh, more hair or less hair, the exchange will be better. No, it's not correct. So option A can't be the correct answer. Option B says multiple epidermis. You only imagine if this is a leaf, and on leaf I have one layer, then two layer, then three layer, four. This is what they're telling by multiple epidermis. So if there is multiple epidermis, there obviously has to be more layer that are supposed to be crossed. And if there are more layer, if there is more barrier, obviously there is going to be not help but difficult to transport. So option B is also wrong answer. Now see, if there is waxy cuticle, just imagine that I have applied some waxy substance or some Vaseline or some petroleum jelly. So it will form a thick coat. So if there is a thick coat over it, then the respiration would be difficult. There will be decreased exchange. So option C is also wrong. Option D is ultimately the correct answer. But let's see what does option D says. Stomata on lower surface away from the direct sun rays. Yes. If the stomata are away from that sun rays, away, this away, so there is going to be decreased transpiration. Therefore, they can stay open. And if the stomata will stay open, there is obviously more exchange. So option number D is the correct answer. So in this session, we have seen that transport in plants have few basic concepts, and around that few basic concepts, the examiner is asking you the question. So when we try to solve the previous year question, when we go through these basic few concepts, we get a better grip. And based on this concept, the questions can be made in many different forms, but the concept will remain the same. Correct. So if we try to focus on this concept, any type of question the examiner is going to put, we will be able to solve. So in this session, what are the few important learning points, home taking points? In this session, the important things we have learned is the mechanism of opening of Stomata. This is the concept which has a tendency of asking and giving more question in paper. So go through the mechanism of opening of stomata. And second, the factors affecting stomata opening. And ultimately, factors related to transpiration rate. Now, based on stomata, we also saw about the structure of stomata. So, yeah, that is just one or 2 points. We will understand. We have gone through the question. That much is enough. But the mechanism of opening and the factors which affect opening and closing of stomata and the rate of transpiration are the high yielding concept. So, if you have less time to revise, go through go through this 2 or 3 topics which we are going to discuss, and this will help you to get good marks in your um, question paper. All right. So in the next session, the half set of questions will be dealt from the previous year questions. So for today, thank you so much. Bye bye.